it's automatic that your mind will go back to, well, remember the days when things were easier.
Hey guys, Johnny Gray here with yet another episode of CrohnsCast. Tonight we're sitting down with Ijmal again and we're talking about struggling with past life guilt. So looking at how we were before we got sick and our diagnosis, and how sometimes we can spend a lot of time languishing in our heads thinking about those times and allowing that to affect who we are today. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this episode. Building on from Lifebulb and all the stuff that you've got coming up in the pipeline, you're heading out to Toronto for the Crohn's Colitis Canada, possibly election to be in the president for Crohn's Colitis Calgary.
Yeah, that I find out on the 26th if I won or not. Yeah,
it's super exciting. But with that, what's your personal hope for the future? Looking at things like personal, professional, and family and things like that.
I think the main thing that I want to just make sure is that as long as I'm happy, I think then the relationships in my life will maintain really well as well, whether it's friendships, family, love relationships, whichever. I think it's important that you have to find the happiness within yourself, because you can't rely on other people to make you happy. So no matter how bad things have gotten for me, I've always had to reset back to the mindset that, okay, I need to find happiness within myself so that way I can be my optimal self towards everybody else and all the other relationships in my life. I can be the best business owner. I can be the best person for certain organizations. I can be the best partner. I can be the best son. I can be the best friend. But to do those things, you can't possibly be your best self to those people if you're not being the best version of yourself to yourself. So it always has to come back to the home base and finding a way to just look after yourself before you can look after other people. Like when you're on a plane and they give the little instruction videos and they're like, you put the face mask on yourself first. It's kind of like, well, you have to be able to breathe and be the best version of you to help the other people, because you've got to be strong if you want to be able to help other people, and you can't be strong. You can't fake strength. So you have to be strong within yourself before you can possibly spread yourself into different areas. Otherwise, it will just break you down.
That's beautiful. So we're looking at working on your own self to help you be better for everybody else. I think personally that's something I need to do a lot more of. I think I know earlier you mentioned like your pre-diagnosis self or your pre-life, and I think I chatted to you once upon a time about pre-life guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, particularly myself at times. Especially on days where I would maybe feeling like I'm fatigued. I kind of slip and think about, well, you used to be this like athlete, you used to be really fit and robust as it, and that would start a really negative cycle for me. Like what tools or tips have you got for anybody who maybe struggles with things like that?
I mean, to be completely honest, there's something I still struggle with at times. So it's not like I've rid myself of those thoughts either. That's something that I still can think time and time again too, especially if I'm not feeling well. It's automatic that your mind will go back to, well, remember the days when things were easier. Remember when you could do this and you were able to go hiking, or you were able to work out harder, or you were able to spend more time in the gym. You start thinking about those things, and it can be a slippery slope, but you have to always, one thing that I always have to find myself doing is I have to catch myself when I'm having those thoughts and say, that was then, and you're still just as strong. Because I may not be as physically strong as I was then, because I could spend a lot more time in the gym. I used to do weight training in the gym before pre-diagnosis, and now I can't spend as much time in the gym, but I find that mentally, the strength that I've lost physically, I've gained mentally. And to just remind yourself that everything kind of balances out. Currently in my life, where I need more strength is mental health rather than physical health. So where I used to be more physically strong, that has just kind of filled a void where I wasn't as mentally strong now. So that's just kind of shifted. And that strength is going to shift throughout your lifespan anyways. There's going to be times where you have to be stronger for other people. There's going to be times where you have to be mentally strong for yourself. There's going to be times where you're feeling physically stronger than you have ever before. And that is just going to shift exactly where it needs to be. And currently, I have to remind myself that the strength that I'm looking for is still there. It's just in a different area of my life. It's in the mental health area rather than the physical health area.
You mentioned before in an interview that whenever you got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, it took you a while to come to terms with it. And one of the things that helped you come to terms with it was understanding that, yes, you had ulcerative colitis, but that wasn't going to define you. Would you say that's something similar in your discovery through mental health and the thoughts and things?
I think that was one of the biggest things with mental health for me, was separating myself from the illness, because I had become so consumed with the idea of the illness that I would spend most of my time just trying to research. And you know, when you go into the internet and you're constantly researching something, you can end up in this rabbit hole and you will find the darkest, most negative things on the internet about whatever it is you're researching. Anything that you can think of absolutely anything, and you could probably search it and find it on the internet. And sometimes when you're in those areas and you're in your mental health might be in a decline, and you start reading some of these negative things, you start to believe that that's exactly where you're headed. And not everything on the internet is valid. Not everything on the internet is true. Not everything on the internet is going to tell you that that's the path you're going to go down. So yeah, I think it was just a matter of figuring out what was important. Like you have to separate yourself from those things if you want to stay mentally strong.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, I think.
Guys, I think you'll agree that, yeah, that was another fantastic episode. And it's really thought-provoking when you think about how much our mind can play in shaping who we are in present time, just by the stories that we've been living, and how much time we spend reflecting on our past life and holding that against ourselves. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, 2020 style, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon, and you'll get updated every time that we upload. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.